Welcome to my kitchen, where I demonstrate some of my favorite recipes.
I hope you enjoy this video of my husband baking these delicious muffins. Mwah.
The recipe calls for 1 cup of raisins, but we decided we like it with 2 cups, so we're going to use 2 cups of raisins. We put 2 cups of raisins into the bowl, and I don't want to lose any raisins here. We sprinkle a little bit of water on top, which is going to help us moisten the raisins. And then we're going to cover this with saran wrap. So it gets a light covering of saran wrap. And then we poke holes in the saran wrap. And we're going to put this in the microwave for 30 seconds and just let it sit there until later when we use it. Now we measure out 5 ounces of all bran cereal. Now we have to take the all bran cereal and pulverize part of it. Not all of it, but all of it. So the trick I use is to put the cereal into a plastic bag, lie it flat, and then use a rolling pin to roll over, which will pulverize about half of it into a fine powder and leave half of it in small crunches. So you'll end up with a mix of just bran powder and little bit, which gives it a mixed texture, which will make the muffins very yummy. And periodically you lift the bag up and you check and see how you're doing. Put it back down again, and then proceed to roll it out. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes of rolling, so I'm going to fast forward to the next step. You know you've done it enough when you see a dusting of powder in here and little crumbs. So now that we have this done, we're going to put this aside till when we need to put it into the batter. It is time to measure out the dry ingredients, the flours. So we're going to start with all-purpose flour. So with all-purpose flour, we need 6 1/4 ounces. So we'll measure 6 1/4 ounces. So we're almost there. Almost 6 ounces, so now we just gotta get another 1/4 more and close enough. So we have 6 1/4 ounces. We reset the scale. And now we add 2 1/2 ounces of whole wheat flour. And now we start scaling 2 1/2 ounces. And we have 2 1/2 ounces. To that flour mix, we're going to whisk this together real quick so it's evenly mixed. We don't need to scale anymore, so we'll take it out of the way. Into this, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking soda. 1, 2, and half a teaspoon of table salt. And we're going to take this and whisk it together so it's all mixed. It'll be ready for later in the recipe. But we're getting all the ingredients ready. Good time. Our next ingredient is brown sugar. We like dark brown sugar, which is what it calls for. And I'm sure you could use light brown sugar, but we found the flavor for dark brown sugar is better. Here we're going to need 3.5 ounces. The recipe actually calls for 4 3/4 ounces, but we found that was too sweet. So after trial and error, we decided that 3.5 ounces was perfect. And again, remember we added more raisins, so we're getting sweetness from the raisins instead of from the brown sugar. So again, I'm watching the weight, and we're close enough, so we're good with our brown sugar. And we can put that aside for later. And now we are done with the scale. We have to add 6 tablespoons of melted butter. So we're going to take 6 ounces of melted butter. We're going to put it into a pan for melting. I like to cut it up a little bit because it melts faster and more evenly this way. So then I will take this and put it on the stove and get it all hot and melty and ready to add it in a few minutes. So now we have to add 2 eggs. The first egg I'm going to use this handy dandy egg separator. You put the cracked egg in there, it collects the yolk, the white falls out, so we'll be able to get the egg yolk in here. So let me just go to the sink, crack the egg, and here we added 1 egg yolk, and we're also adding 1 egg white. I mean the whole egg. So it's 1 yolk, 1 whole egg. We're going to take this and we're going to whisk them together. We get a nice whiskey whisk scrambled mixture. To this mixture, we're going to add sugar. Remember that we measured the brown sugar a little bit ago, so the sugar goes in. We're going to add 3. First we're going to add some vanilla. And I add the vanilla first because the vanilla will cause the spoon we're going to use to be less sticky, so the vanilla won't stick. So you can do the vanilla or the molasses in either order, but I find if we do the vanilla first, it'll make the spoon less sticky. So we did the vanilla, and now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of molasses. And again, with all recipes, exact measurements aren't absolutely required. It's just helpful to be as close as possible to the result. And I like to take a little bit of spatula and try to get all the vanilla out of there. Now that we've got the molasses, the sugar, the vanilla, the eggs in here together, we whisk it together to get a nice smooth creamy mixture. So we're going to whisk it away so we get it nice and smooth and totally mixed. And that's probably pretty good. Now remember that butter we heated up a minute ago? Well, it's now ready to be added. So now we pour the hot butter into this sugar, molasses, vanilla mixture with the eggs. So we get everything into the one bowl. And now we whisk away, making sure the butter is totally mixed in. So we have our batter all mixed, and now we're going to add to that mixture. Remember, this right now this has got eggs, sugar, the brown sugar, the vanilla, and the molasses. Now we're adding 1 3/4 cups of yogurt, plain yogurt. So there's the first part of it. It's already measured out, so we're ready to go. And here's the rest of it. Adding it all together. So we have everything in there. And again, whisking it all together to get a nice, smooth, even, sort of coffee colored mixture. When we feel we've got everything all mixed in there, we're going to now add the, I don't know if you remember, we made the cereal. This is the Bran cereal, which we crunched up. Now we pour the cereal into the bowl. And can't use a whisk at this point because it'll stick. We use a fork and we mix everything in, making sure all the bran pieces, the little powder, the big pieces, the little pieces, because remember they're all mixed size because we crushed them, are evenly coated in the batter. And while we're doing this, we get it all mixed up. And we let it, now this has to sit for about 5 minutes while we let all the bran flakes absorb the liquid from the butter, the molasses, and the eggs. So while we're waiting for that 5 minutes for the bran flakes to absorb the liquid, we spray our muffin pans so that we'll actually be able to get the muffins out after they finish baking. So I like to make sure I put enough spray in all these so they'll come out, and so far I've done pretty good. They always come out. So now this is set for 5 minutes, and we're ready to add our dry ingredients, which we measured earlier and whisked together. We're sticking these in together, and now we use our spatula to mix everything together. We want to make sure we don't have any pockets of flour, and everything gets mixed in nice and smoothly. Takes a little bit, not a lot. Don't over push it. Just stir gently. You don't want clouds of flour floating over. You just want to get everything nice and smoothly in there. And as you can see, we're starting to see it all mixing in nicely. Getting all the flour mixed in. Always sweep up from the bottom. Rotate the pan a little bit to make sure you're getting it evenly. And we want to get everything all nicely stirred in. And once we have it pretty much stirred in, we take our 2 cups of raisins, dump them in, and stir everything in so we now have a nice even batter with raisins evenly mixed throughout the whole mixture. So we're making a nice batter. And it doesn't take a lot to mix it. You don't want to over mix it. You just need to get everything in there. And we pretty much have it now. And you watch this pretty much in real time, so you know about how long it takes. And now we're ready to scoop it out. And I found the best way to scoop it out is I have a scoop. This is a number 10 scoop. If you understand, there's like a number here. It tells you it's number 10. It's the size of the scoop. So we're going to take my muffin pan right here. So I'm going to move this a little bit out of the way. There we go. So I grab a scoop. I try to make it so it's even, right to the top, not heaping, not under, and I just plop it in to the muffin pan. And I do this for all 12 muffins we're going to make. Trying to be very careful using the edge of the pan to get them even. Now, one thing you don't want to do is you just want to plop them in here. You don't want to smooth them out or even make them. You want them to be a little bit on the just the way they plop, sort of organically shaped. You don't want to smooth it out. Now, if you have a little bit left over, I'm not going to do it on camera, but I'll divide this up evenly among those 12. The oven has been preheated to 400 degrees, so we're now ready to put the muffin tins into the oven. So I'll open the oven door. We're going to quickly put the muffin tins in. We don't want to lose the heat from the oven. And now we're going to let the muffins bake for, I do 18 minutes. The recipe calls for 16 to 20 minutes, depending how you like it. My experience is I like it at 18 minutes. So it's now been 18 minutes, and we're now taking the muffins out of the oven. Oh, they look beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So there's one tin. 2 tins. You can just see how golden brown and pretty the muffins look. So now they're ready. They just have to cool for 5 minutes before we take them out. The muffins have now cooled for 5 minutes. So I'm going to take them out and put them onto the wire rack where they'll finish cooling until we're ready to eat them.